Hello, everybody, and welcome to TalkAbout, your weekly news show where I, Alex Brown, gather the top gaming headlines from the past week and break them down with you. This week's headlines include Assassin's Creed Mirage moving up its release date, Alan Wake 2 moving back its release date, and Starfield keeping its release date exactly where it is because Starfield has officially gone gold. I'll be discussing all of that and more on this week's episode of TalkAbout. And then, of course, cool intro. I don't have one again, but one day, maybe. But of course, if it sounds like there are any news stories that I've missed and you want to make sure that that doesn't happen again next week, head to the link in the description below to send in potential news stories I should talk about. There you can also send in suggestions for topics of discussion for the second half of the show. And if you clicked on this video for this week's topic of discussion, you can always check the timestamps below to get straight to the point if that's what you're here for. But just know I would be a little bit offended if you just skipped all the news stories. Okay? Cool. But speaking of the news, let's start with the news from my past week. If you've been around long enough, you'll know that I always start off with a little bit of an update on the channel's goings on before heading into the industry news. So, this past week was a pretty good week in terms of content flow. I released that new video essay, which you should definitely go check out if you haven't seen it right now. It only has like 500 views. It should get more than that, at least 1,000 in my opinion, because yeah, it's my favorite, my personal favorite that I've made. So I would like it to do as well as my best one, but that, of course, that is a far-fetched task to attain. I still to this day don't understand why that one has almost 30,000 views, and it was my first video. Really set some unrealistic expectations going forward, but we can break 1,000 for this one. What's it called again? The games industry and the fear of risk. It was a good time, and we did a YouTube premiere, which I have never done. I didn't understand it at the time. But I would like to thank Studio Corps, Smurf for the win, and Jackson Robert for being there live. I'm sure there are other people there live, but they were the ones who were in the chat live. So special shout out to them. And yeah, go check it out if you haven't. And comment on it. Help the algorithm. Be nice to the algorithm so the algorithm is nice to me, And also new on the channel is VODs from Twitch. Because if you are on Twitch, you may know that your VODs don't stay there forever. So I was like, well, I don't want all of this content to just disappear into the ether. Why not put them on the channel? That way I can have more than just the weekly talkabouts and the occasional video essay to, tide people over. And I just think it's fun, because I enjoy having a good stream. And I know that the Twitch audience I have, very small, very, very small audience. And the YouTube audience I have, the YouTube audience I have, they aren't necessarily overlapping. So maybe that could sort of help with that, So yeah, I'm putting the VODs up from Twitch. I've been doing every Bethesda Game Studios game leading into Starfield. And you're currently getting the Fallout 3 playthrough. And yeah, I'll be starting Skyrim this Monday. So if you want to be there, I'd appreciate that. Twitch.tv/ABrownSpot. That's where you got to go. But enough of me. All right, let's talk about Assassin's Creed Mirage, which has moved its release date up by 1 week. We go straight to the source for this one. Ubisoft tweeted out or posted on x.com, whatever you want to call it, okay? I'm still going to call it Twitter. From here on forth, I'm calling it Twitter, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. Okay. So on twitter.com, Ubisoft's official Twitter posted this. Assassin's Creed Mirage has gone gold. Congratulations to all of our hardworking teams. We're so proud of you all and can't wait to show everyone what they've been working on with an earlier launch this October 5th. Beautiful, as if you were unaware, its former release date was 1 week after that. So that would be honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a really good thing that they moved their release date because I did not know when their release date was. I was trying to act like I did. I was going to Google it, but if I Googled it, it probably wouldn't show up. I think it was October 13th. They moved it up for the obvious reason of October being the biggest month ever in like the longest time, at least. Because October, as you know, actually, let me just go ahead and read our second news story before I go into detail on all of this. Alan Wake 2 moves release back by 10 days. This also comes directly from Remedy, or directly from the Alan Wake Twitter account. An update from the Alan Wake 2 team. We're moving Alan Wake 2's launch from October 17th to October 27th. We turn to this story because Remedy and the Alan Wake team are being completely honest and is just doing what needs to be done because of what's happening in October. And they go on to say this. October is an amazing month for game launches, and we hope this date shift gives more space for everyone to enjoy their favorite games. We can't wait to show you what everyone's favorite novelist is up to in the dark place next week. Thanks for your patience. And they are, of course, referring to opening night live by next week. But yeah, they're straight up telling you they're moving their release date because of how crowded October is. And let's just bring you up to speed on October in case you aren't following along with the release schedule this year. October is Assassin's Creed, Alan Wake 2, Super Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2. I think there's more. Well, either way, that's enough right there. 4 games in 1 month, 4 massive games in 1 month. I feel like I'm really forgetting something. It's going to make me feel like a Nimrod when I remember what it is. But yeah, 4 massive games in the span, and it used to be a span of like 5 days. So they are all separating a little bit, with Assassin's Creed Mirage being that first week, and then Alan Wake being the end of October. And then, of course, Super Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2, they are both exclusives, so they likely are not going to overlap audiences whatsoever. With the Mario crowd, of course, Nintendo Switch owners, and then Spider-Man PS5 owners, of course. So yeah, it's a really smart move from both Assassin's Creed and Alan Wake because it was getting real rough. That 5 to 10 day span there between all 4 of those games. Yeah, it's still going to be a rough month in general because you can't necessarily finish all of those games in a week. I don't imagine, at least considering I'm likely, hopefully, still going to be playing Starfield by then. Which brings us to our next story, and might very well be the last news story, quite frankly. It was a very slow news week. Once again, there's a lot of slow news weeks. But we turn to Starfield, and if we are turning to Starfield, you know what that means. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and every single person across the planet. Everyone across the universe, even. Starfield has gone gold. This comes, once again, from Twitter.com, directly from the horse's mouth. Bethesda Studios' Twitter account posted the following. Prepare for launch. Starfield has gone gold. Preload begins tomorrow for Xbox Series X and S and Windows PC, and August 30th for Steam. And obviously, as of the time you are watching this or listening, however you take this, the 17th has passed. So if you have not preloaded Starfield, pause this video and go do that right now. I'll wait, actually. I'll even wait. Go ahead. I already did this joke on my Twitch VOD, so I'm not going to do it again. But go pre-install this because you need to, obviously. But yeah, it's gone gold. And as of today, when you are reading, or when you're not reading, you can't read this show, as you are listening or watching this, early access is 11 days away. and the worldwide release 17 days away. We are less than 2 weeks away from people playing this game. Okay? You understand? Do you understand how much time that's how little time you have left to socialize and do things outside of your house. So use it wisely. I know I won't. So I hope you do. But yes, with the one day after the announcement that Starfield has gone gold, social media influencers and game reviewers all throughout the Twitterverse is what I'm going to continue to call it, were able to confirm that they have review codes. And that's such a great sign, to have the review codes almost 2 weeks out, because the embargo lifts when early access comes out. So that's a really good sign, because I know it doesn't sound like much to go off of, because it's just like, oh, it's just a normal review period. But it's one of those review periods where they're allowed to say that they have the game. That only happens every so often, which is to say not that often. The last time I remember this happening is with God of War Ragnarok, because that's how confident Sony was in that game. So is that to say that Microsoft is this confident in Starfield? I hope so, because I hope Starfield is everything I want it to be and more. Or maybe just everything I want it to be. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? But with that, there was also a Q&A with the developers, not Todd Howard himself, of course. But there was a Q&A, and let's just break down some of these questions and answers from that Q&A section. I'm not going to go through all of them because, well, frankly, they're not all that interesting. But I will direct you to @TheRealDFia on Twitter, who compiled all of these questions and answers for my reading pleasure and your listening pleasure. All right, so question 1 was, can we buy houses and property in main cities? And the answer is yes. We're going to break this down quickly and concisely. The answer was yes. You can buy houses in all of the major cities, and there's one that is specifically from completing a quest line. So that's something. That's something there. I don't think I'll do that because my ship is going to be my home, probably, unless I decide to settle down. Or maybe I'll build an outpost and settle down there. I just feel like I don't need a house in a city because I'm going to build so much stuff all across the galaxy. You know what I mean? Let's see. How will the smuggling cargo system work? Can we hide it somewhere on the ship and sell it for more currency later? And the answer was yes. You can hide them using special ship modules you can purchase. So you can definitely be a Han Solo type. Very cool. You can probably buy hidden compartments and all that jazz. That'd be great. It'd be great times. Will there be a jail system? Yes, you can go to jail or pay a fine when you're arrested, or even resist arrest and try to escape. So classic Bethesda stuff. I'm not going to read through all of these, just some of them. And it was nice to get the transparency of the Q&A, but of course most of it is just things that we were expecting anyways, because we've played a Bethesda Game Studios game before. So it's a lot of things that are just carrying over into Starfield. I feel like a lot of these questions weren't necessarily like the hard-hitting journalistic questions, you know what I mean? But yeah, those are just a few of the Q&As. There's a lot more that you can go look at, once again, at the real DFia on Twitter to get the full thread for you there. But yeah. All of which brings us to this week's topic of discussion, where I posed the question, does Starfield even stand a chance this year? And I know, calm down. Okay, let's be rational now. Don't go straight to the dislike button. I'm not doing one of those hit pieces that you see a lot of these websites doing. I mean, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but it's a little bit weird how anti-Starfield certain publications seem to be just because of the whole Microsoft of it all. It's a little weird. But that's not what I'm doing. It sounds like a negative statement towards Starfield, but I can guarantee you that it's less so a negative statement to Starfield and more so a positive statement to 2023 for games as a whole. Let me explain myself, okay? So what I have to bring to this discussion is the fact that for me personally, spoiler alert, I'm just going to say it, okay? The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, that's currently my game of the year right now. I don't know how anything else could be. So when it comes to saying the Starfield really even stand a chance this year, I am directly comparing it to Tears of the Kingdom. I know that there's the whole Baldur's Gate of it all, but I have not yet played Baldur's Gate, so I can't speak on Baldur's Gate. Not until, oddly enough, September 6th when Starfield comes out. But I can't imagine Baldur's Gate topping Tears of the Kingdom or even Starfield for that matter, despite sounding exactly like the kind of RPG I would get into based on the fact that all your choices seemingly have weight and carry on throughout the entirety of the story, that sort of thing, multi-path story structures and all of that jazz. While that sounds right up my alley, I can't ignore the fact that the gameplay isn't necessarily what I would want to spend 60 to 100 hours or however long it is in. Which I know it's a different taste for different folks sort of thing. I know some people are definitely into that, but me personally, I would prefer more of the active gameplay from a Tears of the Kingdom or soon to be Starfield. But let me back it up and completely toss the Baldur's Gate out of the window until I have my own impressions of Baldur's Gate. Who knows? Maybe I'll eat my words, and once I play Baldur's Gate, we'll have another video that looks similar to this, talking about how I don't know if anything stands a chance against Baldur's Gate, but I highly doubt that. We're just going to talk directly about Starfield and Tears of the Kingdom. Because yeah, as I've mentioned, Tears of the Kingdom. What a game. Okay. Now, while Starfield and Tears of the Kingdom both have what they both have going for them is the open world sandbox nature, right? I definitely believe that Starfield and Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom obviously has delivered on that front. And I definitely believe that Starfield will also deliver on the sense of discovery and wonder throughout the galaxy. But where Tears of the Kingdom has that edge is that it also gives you all of these tools to manipulate the world and just have a blast, Like, let's just talk about Tears of the Kingdom for a second, because I haven't had a spot to talk about Tears of the Kingdom. So if I get all of my thoughts out on that first, it would help with the direct versus match between Starfield. Having that sense of discovery and open sandbox nature with all of your tools to manipulate the world heavily puts the scales in Tears of the Kingdom's favor for that alone. But then you add on to the fact that it also has just what really I always thought when I started Tears of the Kingdom, okay, I was like, okay, well, this is game of the year. It's going to be between Tears of the Kingdom and Starfield for me. That's what I thought when I started Tears of the Kingdom. And then when I finished Tears of the Kingdom, oof. I just did not realize how steep that hill was for Starfield to climb, Because now that's why this is the topic of discussion. I just don't believe that Starfield has the potential to be better than Tears of the Kingdom, which is shocking because for me, I always thought that Starfield was going to be the one, because Starfield is the next game in the long line of Bethesda Game Studios games, all of which have won numerous Game of the Year awards, and are a lot of which are also my personal favorites. Like in any other year, this conversation wouldn't even be happening because Starfield wouldn't have such harsh competition to go up against. Like, even if it came out last year, Elden Ring would have been the closest thing to competition. But if you were to directly compare Elden Ring and what Starfield is setting out to do, I would go with Starfield, me personally. But we're not in 2022, we're in 2023. 2023 has Tears of the Kingdom, okay? I'm getting off track again, but the thing that sent Tears of the Kingdom so far above anything else this year for me is just how hard that story hit. I don't know. No, I'm not going to go into any spoilers, of course, because I would not want to ruin any of those moments for anyone. Because, man, oh my goodness, they're just, oh my God, I can't say anything else. They're great, though. It was those moments, those cutscenes and all that really sent it over the edge, because I was not expecting Tears of the Kingdom to have the narrative backbone that it ended up having. Where Breath of the Wild was just that open world sandbox with some story elements, I definitely feel like Tears of the Kingdom doubled down on everything, and it made for a near perfect game, if not a perfect game. And another thing that Zelda has over Starfield is the decades worth of history with these characters that we all have one way or another. For me personally, I go way back to Ocarina of Time as one of the earliest games I've played. So having those characters in this iteration with Tears of the Kingdom, it has just that extra layer of like nostalgia baked into it, especially when it has like a lot of the same themes. Like, it cannot be understated how much the music in Tears of the Kingdom elevated the entire experience. And on the Starfield side, as much as I want it to exceed every expectation, I can't help but think that it's going to just be another Bethesda game with the map. It's just going to be the most open world, open galaxy Bethesda game has ever been. You know what I mean? Because based on Bethesda's past and all of their other games, I just don't think that there are going to be those epic cutscene moments that were what brought Tears of the Kingdom so high up for me, you know? While I do expect there to be cool moments and things that make my jaw drop, there's nothing in Starfield I don't think is going to feel as special and as beautiful as some of those moments did in Tears of the Kingdom. That, I'm not afraid to admit it, brought me to tears. Tears of the Kingdom is just a beautiful video game, okay? I can't stop talking about it. So we're gonna focus on Starfield. While Starfield does have a lot of ambition behind it, it doesn't have nearly as much of the sort of innovation that Tears of the Kingdom brought, with all of the creations you could make that let you tackle all of these puzzles in various ways. Also, those puzzles, they broke up the pacing to make it so that you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. Is Starfield going to have something like that? Perhaps. Potentially those outposts and just discovering planets, that whole thing. That could very well be the breaking up the quest structure, which could add to the openness of the game. But at the end of the day, I hope I can look back on this video in 2 weeks and laugh. And just laugh at how I didn't believe in Starfield performing, or Starfield being better than Tears of the Kingdom. That's the steepest mountain to climb. I understand that. So I just don't expect that. Because, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, I would be shocked if it's not my game of the year. Starfield is really going to have to bring it in terms of music, epic moments, and all of that to really bring itself above Tears of the Kingdom. And I just don't think that it can do that. Whereas Tears of the Kingdom uses characters that we've all known and all have different feelings with already. Starfield is a blank slate because these are all brand new people, brand new places, a brand new universe. We have no connection to them whatsoever. So unless they really like doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on their storytelling, I just don't think that in this one game, this one experience, I'm going to feel the same way I feel at the end of it as I did when I beat Tears of the Kingdom. So that's all I have to say on that. But I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on that, right? Like, if Tears of the Kingdom isn't your game of the year right now, what is? Like for real? Like, how is it not? If it isn't your game of the year right now, why not? And what is? You know? Do you think Starfield could beat it? I don't, as you already know. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I am wrong. I would love to be wrong. I just don't think I will be, though. But yeah, it was a really slow news week this week. So the discussion topic did a lot of heavy lifting this episode. But opening night live is this coming week. So hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about next week in terms of news in the industry. But for now, it's not much. But yeah, we might not even need a topic of discussion for next week because of that. But yeah, until that next episode where hopefully we have a lot of new news to break down, I hope you treasure the ones around you, you know, take in the moment, look at the sun, touch some grass, because you have about 11 days before all of that's gone. Because man, once I get going in Starfield, I'm not going to see the sun unless I'm looking at the sun in the game. You know what I mean. And you're going to be exactly where I am, probably. Anyways, enough rambling. I'll see you in the next episode. But until then, stay safe and play some video games.